What's going on, everybody? This is my WrestleMania 2 review. Here it is. There's a DVD right here. There's a DVD in here. It used to be a video, but I cut the box and put a DVD in here. It's WrestleMania 2. So here we go with my review of WrestleMania 2, which took place on April 7th, 1986, from 3 different cities, 3 different locations, 3 different arenas. In Chicago, you had Gorilla Monsoon and Mean Gene on commentary, I believe. In LA, you had Jesse Ventura, Lord Alfred Hayes, and I think for the main event, Hogan, King Kong Bundy, you had Elvira, also on commentary, who is a famous, I don't know what you call her, horror character. She used to host horror movie specials, Elvira. She was popular in the 80s. I don't know if she still does her same Elvira character. I don't have a clue, but she was around in the 80s and pretty popular. And she had pretty nice rack also. So WrestleMania 2 kicked off, as I said, in New York. The commentary team was Vince McMahon and Sarah St. James, or whatever her name was. I forget her name, but she was married to Dick Ebersol, the NBC Sports executive producer of Saturday Night's Main Event, and Dick Ebersol worked very closely with Vince McMahon in the late 80s, and even, I think, was put in the Hall of Fame. I think he was put in the Hall of Fame. I can't remember. At least I know he's at Hall of Fame because Dick Ebersol did the induction speech, or introduced Bob Uecker into the Hall of Fame. So, WrestleMania 2 kicked off with a match that was very short. 2 good workers, Don Morocco and Paul Orndorff, very good wrestlers, very good workers. Don Morocco was a heel at the time, and he was very hated as a heel. He played the heel part way better than he played a babyface. So this match ended in like 2 or 3 minutes. I'm not joking. It ended in 2 or 3 minutes. It was a double disqualification, or double count out. So that ended quick. Up next, and these matches were from New York, Nassau Coliseum in Uniondale, New York. So Randy Savage, up next, defended his Intercontinental Championship against George the Animal Steele, who he was feuding with at the time. George the Animal Steele was really obsessed with Elizabeth and kept kidnapping her, carrying her off from ringside to the back. It was pretty funny, anyways. And George the Animal Steele, the guy looked like a beast, and he kept kidnapping the beauty, Elizabeth. So it was like Beauty and the Beast. Anyways, this match was not a very good worked match. Randy Savage, I'm sure, tried his hardest. He was a great heel when he was Intercontinental Champion, was a Macho Man. But George the Animal Steele was had to be over 50 years old. He was way past his prime, was George the Animal Steele. But he was a big-time popular character. That's why Vince kept him around in the late 80s and still had him wrestle. Even though the guy really didn't wrestle ever, because all his character really would do is bite people and punch, and that's it, and kick and headbutt, that's it. So Randy Savage defeats George the Animal Steele to retain the Intercontinental title. I did not see WrestleMania 2 live. I was only 2 years old, so I didn't even know wrestling was around until I was 3. but I have watched WrestleMania 2 and I've seen it many times since. Up next, Jake the Snake Roberts defeated George Wells, who was a jobber in the 80s. Then Jake Roberts puts his snake on George Wells. The snake starts wrapping himself around the neck of the guy, and George Wells starts like foaming at the mouth or spitting because I don't think he could breathe from Damien the snake. I hate snakes, and if a snake was ever put on me, I'd scream like a little bitch. So Jake Roberts wins in his WrestleMania debut. Also, it was Macho Man's WrestleMania debut, and it was Don Morocco's WrestleMania debut. Because they were not there for, well, Don Morocco was there, but he wasn't put on the WrestleMania 1 show. And Jake Roberts and Macho Man were not in the company yet. Up next, this match was a mess. It was entertaining. I will admit it was entertaining to watch. Still is, but it was a mess. It was just really bad. Because Mr. T fucked up. He messed up the finish. Roddy Piper, he was supposed to knock out Roddy Piper in the boxing match, and Piper was supposed to fly out of the ring. Well, that did not happen. Because Mr. T missed knocking out Piper. He missed him by like 5 feet. He missed Piper. He didn't even come close to his face. Didn't even come close. So then Piper just had to bump and take the spot like he got hit anyway and fall out of the ring. It was a mess. It was a nightmare. And not thanks to Roddy Piper. He was a pro. Mr. T did not really know what he was doing in there. And it's not really Mr. T's fault. But it is his fault because he messed up the spot where he's supposed to knock out Roddy Piper. He totally messed it up and fucked up on live pay-per-view or live closed circuit. I don't think they're on pay-per-view until WrestleMania 3. Up next, from Chicago, the Fabulous Moolah defended her women's championship. She held for like 27, 29 years. Fabulous Moolah defeated Velvet McIntyre to retain the women's title. Up next, Corporal Kirshner, who I never liked, but he was an okay wrestler. Corporal Kirshner defeated Nikolai Volkov, so it was United States flag and United States against Russia, USSR. And Corporal Kirshner won for the USA. Up next, we had a battle royal with NFL stars and WWF superstars. It was pretty entertaining. You had William the Refrigerator Perry in there. You had some other football players in there. Haku was in there. Bret Hart, Jim Neidhart, the Anvil was in there. Andre the Giant was in there. Bruno Sammartino was even in there, I think. Bruno Sammartino was in it. I don't remember who else. A couple other guys. Big John Studd was in it. Anyways, Andre the Giant wins. And Big John Studd got eliminated, I believe, by William the Refrigerator Perry. And then Big John Studd grabbed William the Refrigerator Perry from the outside of the ring. He pulled him over the top rope and eliminated him. Andre the Giant wins by eliminating first the Anvil of the Hart Foundation. We're trying to team up against Andre the Giant and eliminate him. Then Andre picks up Bret Hart, press slams him, throws him over the top rope onto the Anvil, and Andre the Giant wins the Battle Royal. That was good to see because he's a giant. He should win a Battle Royal because he was Andre the Giant. So it's good to see Andre get a babyface reaction because he was a babyface at the time still. And Andre is pretty loved by the fans at WrestleMania 1 and 2 until he had to turn heel in January or February of '87 and turn heel and join and go with Bobby the Brain Heenan. Then the fans started hating Andre. But that made a lot of sense because Hogan had to be the babyface against Andre. So they had to turn Andre heel. And then Andre was so hated. I mean, after WrestleMania 3, he was going to the back in that cart, or that, whatever you call it, that thing that drove him to the back. People are throwing trash at him. I mean, paper cups and trash. They were kept throwing at Andre and Bobby Heenan. I felt sorry for the guy, because no wrestler should get trash thrown at them. But that's how hated Andre was. And it was a different time in the business. Fans were different. The fans, actually, they didn't know anything about kayfabe and all that. They didn't know it was predetermined. Most fans acted like they thought it was really the outcomes. The fans acted like they thought they were real. Anyways, I did, because I was a small kid. I didn't know it was predetermined until probably I was 6 or 7, and I still didn't care that it was. It doesn't matter to me. I still am a fan, and I still watch. I mean, movies are predetermined also. They're not real. So, and everybody still likes movies. So, Andre wins a Battle Royal. Good for him. It was good to see Andre as a babyface. Up next, we had a lot of guys were in the Battle Royal that I missed reading. Hillbilly Jim was in it. Jim Bronzell, Pedro Morales, Brian Blair, the Iron Sheik, a lot of NFL guys that I never heard of, except I heard of William the Refrigerator Perry. Of course I know who he is. And a lot of NFL guys. And a couple, Dan Spivey, he was also in the Battle Royal. Up next, we had the British Bulldogs with Ozzy Osbourne for some reason. Ozzy Osbourne was there, I guess, as a celebrity. So Ozzy Osbourne was with the British Bulldogs because he's from England, and the British Bulldogs are also from England. British Bulldogs win the World Tag Team Championships, defeating Greg the Hammer Valentine and Brutus and Beefcake. This was a pretty entertaining tag match. The finish was pretty great, pretty shocking. I remember seeing the finish when I was a young kid, when I rented WrestleMania 2 from a store. I had to be at least, 6 or 7. And the finish was, I believe Davey Boy Smith ran Greg Valentine's head into Dynamite Kid's head, and Dynamite fell off the ropes, fell off the apron to the floor. And that's how the British Bulldogs won the tag titles for the first time in their WWF careers. Up next, we had matches from LA, Los Angeles. Ricky Steamboat defeated Hercules. That was a pretty good match, pretty entertaining. Adrian Adonis defeated Uncle Elmer. That was not entertaining. That was pretty boring. Dory Funk Jr. and Terry Funk defeated Junkyard Dog and Tito Santana. That was a decent, entertaining tag match. Main event, Hulk Hogan defended the title, the WWF title, and defeated King Kong Bundy in a steel cage match. At the end, Bobby Heenan was brought into the cage, and that giant big blue steel cage, it had no give to it at all. Hulk Hogan threw Bobby Heenan up against those steel bars, and I felt sorry for Bobby Heenan because that had to hurt like hell. It had zero give, and I'm sure it hurt a lot. So Hulk Hogan, King Kong Bundy, a lot of people don't like this match. A lot of friends I've heard of for years and years, they don't like King Kong Bundy versus Hulk Hogan. They didn't enjoy it. Well, I did enjoy it. Probably because I was a big Hulkamaniac. And I still am a fan of Hogan. Anyways, I enjoyed the match. I thought it was a good cage match. I thought it was a good main event for WrestleMania 2. Remember, people, this was only the second ever WrestleMania. I don't know what you expected for a main event, but in my opinion, King Kong Bundy Hulk Hogan was better than the WrestleMania 1 main event. It was more entertaining. King Kong Bundy got busted open and bled. And King Kong Bundy was a real, true, giant, super heavyweight, a true challenger to Hogan's title because the guy was so big. So it was really believable that King Kong Bundy could defeat Hulk Hogan for the title because he was a super heavyweight. And on an earlier Saturday night's main event to build up to WrestleMania 2 build up, King Kong Bundy did the avalanche up against Hogan in the corner and broke Hulk Hogan's ribs. At least storyline wise, he broke his ribs. I'm sure he didn't have real broken ribs. And then King Kong Bundy did the avalanche big splash on Hogan on a Saturday night's main event. So that was a good build up. And Hogan came into the cage with taped ribs, had whatever medical wrapping around his ribs. I enjoyed the cage match. I thought it was good. Hogan and King Kong Bundy, they did their best. They tried their hardest, and they had a pretty good match in a cage. I enjoyed it. WrestleMania 2, there were some good parts and some bad parts. It wasn't the best event, but I'm sure they had technical difficulties because they were from 3 locations. But WrestleMania 2 was a step in the right direction. It was a step in the right direction. It was better. It was produced. The production was better than WrestleMania 1 was. And WrestleMania 3 would even get bigger and better. They had better production, better. It was produced better. The look of the show at WrestleMania 3 looked awesome because of the giant crowd. So WrestleMania 3 blew WrestleMania 2 and 1 out of the water because how many people were there. And because of matches. Delivered. Ricky Steamboat, Randy Savage delivered. Was the match of the show. And the main event was awesome. Hogan, Andre, everybody had to see it. So this ends my WrestleMania 2 review. If you never seen WrestleMania 2, watch it on the network. Hopefully you have the WWE network. Watch WrestleMania 2 on the network. It's not, you don't have to watch it, but you should watch King Kong Bundy Hogan, and you should watch Mr. T and Roddy Piper in the boxing match, because it's pretty damn funny how Mr. T screws up so bad. Anyways, this was my WrestleMania 2 review. Hope you enjoyed it. Follow me on Twitter at TNA WWE Guy, and you know where my other account is. You know what the name of it is. So, thanks for watching. If you watched my WrestleMania 2 review, bye for now.